Hi, my name is Alicia Cacciaroni. My student number is 1281454. This is my mini presentation, and I have chosen to speak about my favorite band, which is the Beatles. It's something that's been very influential throughout my life. I've always had an appreciation for their music and how it changed with them. In the early years of the Beatles, they were, the love songs, and then they got a little more experimental and then almost psychedelic towards the end of their time together. And growing up, they were always played in my home. My dad was a huge Beatles fanatic, and I did go to strawberry fields in New York City when I spent some time there. I also went to Abbey Road in London. I have yet to see Paul McCartney perform live, but I would love to see that while he still has some time on this earth with us, as well as Ringo Starr. And the more I see how far these people have gone throughout their lives and everything they've done, as musicians, it's really impressive, like hearing the diversity in their music. And they really kind of stuck to music. A lot of the music artists these days, they get into the modeling and they get into the acting and they get into all these different things. But that was one thing about John and Paul. They wrote all their own music, which is another thing that you don't see as often these days. And I have a strong appreciation for that. I also have a strong appreciation for the idea of, again, how diverse their music is. You could kind of see how they grew up and how the music industry and the fame affected their lives, and that they really dedicated their lives to the music industry. Once their names were out there, once they went on the Ed Sullivan Show, once they blew up and became something, that was their future, and they did this on a global scale. This wasn't just something that was done, in the US or even the UK for that matter, because they did begin in Liverpool. They actually began with different band members than the ones that we came to know and love. So I think that it just kind of goes to show how much dedication it really took to commit their lives to what they are today. Especially, they spent all that time in India. They learned all of these things about the culture out there. They made a stand for, some of the political unjust things that were going on in America. They weren't American citizens. There's just a lot to be had about the influences that they had over the masses, which I think is very interesting. But yeah, they've always been a big part of my life. We played Obla Di Obla Da as we walked away from the aisle at our wedding. And, it reminds me of being a little kid. My dad's father-daughter song was also a Beatles song that he chose. So it's something that I feel has brought families together, at least in my instance. My little sister and my older sister, they have an appreciation for the Beatles, but they're not as big of fans as I probably am. But they still hold them in a high regard. And I think that even if you don't appreciate their music or if you don't appreciate their style, I think it's very undeniable, the idea of what excellent musicians they are and what they offer and bring to the table. So that's just a little bit about me and my favorite thing. When I think of music artists, I gotta go with the Beatles.